How would you not want to do?
Let's hope we're all as planned. You know, that's a little bit about the future. Let's go back a little bit, mate. Let's go back 38 years from when you started. And what, in your opinion, has been the major changes on that journey within Muay Thai?
Well, people could say I'm biased, but obviously I believe that all sports develop anyway, don't they? They all change. I mean, like, could a football player from 38 years ago be transported now and play football in the Premiership? He'd probably sent off after 10 minutes, wouldn't he? Let's face it, banned for life. But then also you could argue, what was it, if you had someone like Norman Clark playing in defence and somebody comes over and starts doing step overs, he'd probably break his leg. He won't try it again, would he? But all sports develop, right? But I think, and Muay Thai is developed in Thailand. It's probably a very different sport now than it was 30 years ago. But in this country, the biggest development for me is learning how to judge it properly, and coaches taking on board how then to teach it properly. I mean, it was such a different sport when I first started training. Every show you went to, hardly any of them were full all Muay Thai. You know, they were most of them were kickboxing shows on, or they'd have what's now K1, or they'd have full contact or light contact, and it was always a mismatch. Half my fights were without knees because there wasn't anybody who'd fight with knees, let alone I never fought full rules. There was never any full rules. I can't remember the first time I saw full rules. I put a video of Sandy fighting taking for European title, I put it on a memory stick, and I think that was knees to the head, but I don't think it was elbows for European title. Obviously then the Thais started coming over, but that's when it was the first inkling that probably we weren't judging it properly because the Thais took over the judging on it and we couldn't understand what was going on. But definitely the interpretation of how it's scored correctly, and then the majority, or well, some coaches taking it on board and teaching appropriately. You know, it's a massive development. I think people like to say that what the late 80s, early 90s was the golden era of UK Muay Thai. I'm sorry, it wasn't. It definitely wasn't. You know, I'm not saying that the people competing then, if they were to be here now, doing what we're doing now, knowing what we know now, wouldn't still be competitive. They would be. But I watched during lockdown 50, 60 fights from that period of time, and no, they were C-class. I know it's going to annoy some people, but it's what they knew. I'm not blaming anybody for it. And the same, I never ever blame anybody for the misinterpretation of how to score, because we didn't know anything. And as I said, every show you went to had kickboxing on it. They're probably working with kickboxing judges. If we tried to do Muay Thai, I don't think anybody had ever fought, and it would have ever won a fight. And probably Muay Thai had disappeared after 2 or 3 years in this country. But it's prior to lockdown, you say that last show, you've got the kids on at Yokow with that walkout and then the performance of something unreal. You got consistently people going to watch kids going, these are better than the adults right there now. You know, they're more enjoyable to watch. Some of them have just got the most amazing skills. I think we were in a phenomenal position then. Adult-wise, I'd say possibly we were a bit better maybe 3 or 4 years ago than we were now. Some of the rankings are really thin with at the moment, but the juniors coming through I think are fantastic.
Do you think we're actually? Do you think it's getting there with this universal type scoring that we've tried to implement? Not just us, but I think the work that Tony and yourself and Jesse and Sean Boland, all them people have done. Do you think people are actually buying into that now?
I don't think. I think there's still people who are very, very reluctant to it. And there's always the same arguments. The British public won't understand it. It's not exciting, etc. Look, Muay Thai is a niche sport. It's always going to be a niche sport in the UK. It's never going to be massive. You know, not in our lifetimes. It's not. There's never going to be a GB team representing Great Britain at the Olympics in Muay Thai. Forget it. It's not going to happen, right? So if you love the sport, do the sport as it is, as it should be done. Don't try and change it because you think you can make more money out of it. You can make more people into it. It's like getting a Mars bar and saying, you know what, I've got this Mars bar, shove some raisins in it, shove a few nuts on it, and let's change it into something else and make a colour. And we'll sell more. Yeah, but you haven't got a Mars bar anymore, mate. It's not a Mars bar, it's something completely different. And that's what we're trying to do. Let's have it over 5 threes with 1 minute's rest. Let's have 3 threes. Let's score it from the start like we do in boxing. Let's make everything equal. That's no longer Muay Thai. What that is an amalgamation of rules for people who, to be honest, can't teach Muay Thai properly. Not even half the time. I don't think it's because they think it's more exciting. It's because they can't get their head around it. It's a different sport to boxing. They want it to be boxing with kicks and knees and elbows. It's not. It's a completely different sport. It's judged differently. There's different emphasis on certain things, and it's not that complicated. It's rubbish. People say it's complicated because I've explained it to professional boxers, and they all get it straight away. And most of them say, well, that makes sense, especially the holistical scoring, the scoring it over the whole fight. Every one of them says, that makes more sense. That's how boxing should be. Oh, one of them said to me, I get that, but I suppose if you know it's going to be round by round, you can play a certain game. But if you know it's going to be holistically, then you're going to have to be more effective at what you do. Therefore, it's a more honest representation of a fight. So I think there'll always be reluctance to accept it with the same old stories, and people will, and you know what, people will support those promoters and coaches. Let's just have a different circuit. If you want to do a fight sport that's got punches, kicks and knees to the head and elbows to the head if you want, but you want to do it like K1, then fine, crack on, but don't call it Muay Thai, just call it something else. Let everybody know beforehand what it is and how it's going to be scored. It's not Muay Thai, because you kill yourself, and it's an argument I make all the time, is that if you continue to judge fights wrong, you're not learning the correct skills. Okay, so what's your XYZ aim to fight the top Thais, either here or in Thailand? So if you're taking an amalgamation of rule set that you've decided upon, you think it's better, and you bring a Thai over, and you fight the Thai and you win on your rule set, and the Thai goes, nah, I won that. You cheated. You cheated. You've changed the rules. You've robbed the Thai. You didn't know. Did they even tell them beforehand half the time? Do you know? Or you go to Thailand and you think, right, I've been fighting this XYZ kind of style of Muay Thai in England, and I've won 12, 15, 20 fights and fight this Thai. And then you get body kicked all over the place and you land 25 punches around, but get kicked 5 times all over the place. And you're like, oh, I was winning. No, you weren't winning. You were doing the sport wrong. So call it something else. Do something else. But if you want to do Muay Thai, then do it right. You know?
I think you touched on just before that, Darren, about the golden era.
Yeah.
Does some of them problems stem back from then? And I think the link broke up a little bit. So you were saying about the golden era, as people, I keep on hearing it spoke about. I don't, was it the early 80s? Was it the early 90s?
Late 80s, early 90s, I think, is what people like to say. I mean, that's probably when Masaskan and Masatori were independently bringing Thais over to fight their fighters. 1990, Masaskan did a couple of shows at Bowlers, and he brought the likes of Cabana over. 2 shows, and he brought 5 or 6 Thais to each one. Masatori was probably already doing them. So those people could argue those were the golden era. But your Ronnie Green, Humphrey Harrison, your Oliver Harrison, Phil Nurse, a few others in there. But if you watch them fight, they'd have to knock people out these days to win. Or they wouldn't be winning any fights on points unless they were completely dominant. Again, if they were taught what we're taught now, they'd still be competitive. I trained with most of those people, and they were phenomenal athletes, hard guys. But what they're doing then would not get a fight won on points these days. People would argue, oh, it was more exciting. I don't know. It's like you can argue Sunday League's more exciting than watching the Premiership if you want, But then if you want to see someone boot a ball 40 foot in the air, hope to get it on the head of the tallest people, 20 people run it for some to beat it back, so you can watch leagues, to be honest. But that's up to you.
So
I like to see.
In your opinion, then, the sport that we've got now has evolved that much that the current crop we've got now are fighting at better technical level than back then?
Yeah, they are. And certainly, like I said, there's a lot of people gone past the sell-by date, maybe, or retired or whatever. But if you look, say, 4 or 5 years ago, some of the people who were on the sport then were light years ahead. I mean, people talk about Liam. Liam, if you were to watch some of he does what he does now because his argument is that his fans want to see it. But if you watched when he fought, not even Kluban, but if you fought, like, say, at the point, when he fought just left body kick to get the time on it was phenomenal. Silvador, I can't remember his name now. Amazing performance. And he fought a Japanese guy a bit before that at Leeds Town Hall. Funny enough, I was sat next to Sandy Holt, and it was Sandy that turned around to me, and when he was watching Liam clinch this Japanese guy and just chuck him all over the place, and it was Sandy that turned around to me, it's a different sport. But it is a different sport. It's the proper sport, you know. But look at the skills of Dean James. You know, he was possibly one of my favourite English modern fighter, skills-wise. I think he's phenomenal. And there are other guys out there, and I'm not deriding any of the fighters now. I just think that obviously I'm looking at my lads' weight categories, lightweight. It's very thin. I've got number 2, number 3 ranked lightweights, thinking who they're going to fight to be able to potentially challenge the number 1, because I still think he's a step ahead of me. He's 127 years old, like, but he's probably going to wait until his son can take over. So you know what I'm talking about, and then he's going to retire and put Corey in at number 1 or something. But you know.
And again, if you
look at the welterweight rankings, for example, when Andy Thrasher was in there, he never got to number 1 in the welterweight rankings, Andy, despite being one of the most destructive fighters I've ever seen, let alone trained. It was raft full of talent then who were doing pretty much what we're doing now. Do you know, the names in it were unbelievable. Kieran Kettle, Frank Udders, Andy, Tim Thomas. Just went out, it's great. But I think just some people are nostalgic for the time when they were competing, but you've got to look at it open-eyed and think, no, I think it's more skillful now than it was then. And I think it's getting better. And I think the juniors, if we can keep the juniors, any of the juniors, 10% of the juniors we've got knocking around now, in 5 years' time, it'll be even better. And then that brings us on to the subject we're going to talk about, really, is juniors. Do you know, and this big argument about we're losing them because they're not allowed to do head contact, or we're losing them because they're not allowed to fight A class. So first of all, I don't think that's true. I think we lose them anyway. And then I'm going to address 2 things, right? I listened to Liam talking to Damon Almas, and their argument was that Liam fought full Thai rules at 14. Damon did. Dan McGowan did. Michael Savas did. You know, and Liam fought full Thai rules at 16 in this country. And they say they're that good as they are because they were allowed to fight Thai rules at that age, full Thai rules. But I'd flipped that on the side and said they were good enough to fight full Thai rules at that age. That doesn't mean to say that if everyone fought them at that age, they'd all be as good. They were just good enough. Now, I don't think that there's any point people fighting full Thai rules at 15, 16, 17 because it makes them harder, makes them aware of what's going to happen to them. I don't agree with that at all. I think if you're hard, you're hard. If you can take it, you can take it. You don't need to get elbowed in your head at 14 to find out if you're going to be able to knock it, take it at 18. You don't. And there's other issues as well.
Can I just stop you there 1 minute, just while I get this? So, yeah, sorry. So, was at the point as you were saying about that juniors don't have to get kicked in the head, elbowed in the head? Yeah.
So, skill development, I think the junior rules concept we have in this country enables you to develop 70% of the skills you need to be able to compete as an adult. Okay. Now, would it be better if they could do that at 14, 15 for the development as a knack-way, for want of a better word? I don't know. But what everybody forgets about is the legal implications of juniors fighting with head contact in this country. Now, I want to take this opportunity to explain it to people because people don't want to listen to this. Right? In this country, there's no such thing as a legal fight. Nothing is legal. not a fight on the street, obviously, but not a junior Thai boxing fight, not a Thai boxing fight, an unlicensed boxing fight, and even a British Boxing Board of Control fight simply can still be classed as being illegal. And you can be held responsible civilly, morally, financially, okay, legally, for any damage that you do to anybody in any of those fights. Okay. There have been 2 test cases brought forward, how many hundreds of years ago. Queensberry Rule fights, 2 adults came along. One, in both cases, one got injured, tried to sue the other one. In both cases, the judge went, well, you're over 18 and of right mind, and so are you. You knew what you were doing. Bog off, stop wasting our time. So those are the precedents that are set. Okay. So everyone over 18, unless you have some kind of mental disability, you're probably not going to get yourself into any trouble. Problem you have is under 18, okay, you can't, in this country, in fact, I think in most of Europe, if you're under 18, you're not legally deemed able to understand the risks of something. So you can't go into a fight saying, I know what's likely to happen to me here. Whether you do or you don't, it's immaterial. Legally, under 18s aren't deemed to understand the risks of something they're going to do. So they can't sign an indemnity to say, I indemnify you from this. Okay, whatever happens to me, it's my fault. All right. So yeah, under 18s are still competing, but they're now competing in a kind of accepted rule set that's been going on for quite some time, and it is relatively safe. So you want 14, 15-year-olds to fight, not even head contact, people want them to fight full Thai rules. Okay. That is so dangerous, it's untrue. Regardless of whether it will or will not develop skills, whether it will mean that the UK will be an even stronger power in Muay Thai than it is now, it's outrageously dangerous for everybody that's involved in it. And I'm not just talking from a health point of view. Don't forget that let's say 2 15-year-olds have a full Thai rules fight and one gets really hurt, potential brain damage. That's the worst thing there, right there and there. But forgetting that, because that can happen in anything at the end of the day, what you've got is a whole heap of legal responsibilities. Now, most juniors, the juniors in my gym, never ever want to ask me about doing head contact before they're 16. Never ask me about doing full Thai rules before they're 18, because they know those are the rules. And I always go back to Wayne Rooney. Wayne Rooney could have played in the Premiership at probably 14 years of age, 15 years of age, but he couldn't play in the Premiership till 16 years of age. So he didn't leave football. It's different because he was going to earn a fortune playing football. He knew what the rules were. Now, what's worse is when you get these phenomenally brave parents and phenomenally brave instructors saying this 15-year-old can fight full Thai rules and shove them in. Okay, the kid doesn't really know what's letting on. As far as the law's concerned, it doesn't. But what's worse is the person who's legally responsible for their welfare there isn't this phenomenally brave parent or this phenomenally brave instructor who's pushed this kid into doing full Thai rules. It's the referee. It's the referee first, and it's the medical team second, and it's the promoter third, and it's the people who instigate the rules fourth. Then comes the instructor, and way down the line is the parent who wanted Johnny Two Guns to fight full Thai rules at 15 because he's living his life for his kid. So as a referee, when you're doing anything, your first responsibility is the safeguarding the people that you're looking after, whether it's boxing, Thai boxing, football, skiing, whatever, you're looking after them. And if something goes wrong, you're the first person that's going to get done legally and civilly. So you're asking loads of people to take loads of chances to let these 15-year-olds fight full Thai rules. In this country, it's a legal minefield. Whether it does or doesn't, which I don't believe it does hamper the development. I don't believe we lose that many kids from the sport because they can't fight full Thai rules at that age. I think they just go. You just go. And that's the way it is. And I don't think saying you can fight full Thai rules at 15. And you've got to look at this scenario. I've stopped fights probably more on a Sunday than I will on a Saturday because they're going to school the next day. So if someone fights full Thai rules at 15, gets cut, nice little scar on his head, goes into school the next day and teaches, what's that from? Oh, I had a full Thai rules fight last night. How long do you think before this sport's banned? We go back to letting Sport of England and the government into shows and they sit and watch a 15-year-old hitting it in the head with an elbow. How long do you think we're all locked up? You know, just like that. I can go back to the late 80s. Mastercam put a show on, 10 British title fights. They were all sitting around fighters against someone from else. And the first show was at something like 53 kilos. And the lad who fought, I think for Masterscan, it would have been C class, was 5'2", no balls, knees to the head, was 15. And he fought a guy from Middleton who was about 19, 20. This guy punched the sitting around lad's face off all over the place. Now, the sitting around guy, he still won because he had kicked him, but he took a lot of punches. And it was Martial Arts Commission that were there then at the time, which were like an element of Sport England as it is now. I can't remember what it was called there, so Sports Council. And they just went, nah, that's not happening. No head contact for under 18s ever again. Or not under, it's not happening. So that's when we had to move head contact to 18, and it's sort of slowly come back down again. But loads of people out there saying, yeah, let them fight elbow, shove elbow pads on them, it'd be right, 16, 17. No, it's not. It's not right. Forget whether it's right for the skill development, it's right with the kid. It's not right because it's going to get the sport into a mess. And legally, you're just asking to be, well, you're asking for the referee to be sued. That's the best bit about it. Dad A and instructor B, okay, and the other two, and they say, yeah, go on, it's fine, you get on there, because he's getting sued before me, and then the medical team and everybody else, and I can just sit there and go, well, I don't know. So it's just unfortunate, irresponsible, but we're not living in Thailand. If you're good enough, I tell you what as well, Dan McGowan, Liam Harrison, probably Michael Savas and Damon Almus fought full-time rules in Thailand at 14. So if you're good enough, go there. I don't think it was going to make a blind bit of difference. It's a really dangerous thing. And often it's parental influence, and that brings on to the next one, really, it's parental influence.
Well, we was, as you know, we used to be at 15 up until I think it was probably 2 years ago now, in the February, had a show coming up, and we'd done a lot of work then with Sport England via Claire Heap, a lot of work, and we went through our rule set with them. We sent all the documents in, and it was when Tracy Crouch was sports minister. She did loads of work on it, and she came back with perfect, clean bill of health, except you've got to change that 15 to 16, because now at 16, we regard 16-year-olds old enough to make their own informed decision. Cost me, like I think some of your fighters at the time, probably cost me the 5 top fights on the card. We were all at 15. Ellie Barker was one of them. Had to scrub the fight because we went, no, now we're at 16 and we're going to stay at 16. And a bit though, Darren, there did, and you've mentioned the parents' influence.
Yeah.
And it is. I've probably got only 10 people blocked on my Facebook. I don't know how I even ended up on the setting the other day, but 9 of them that are blocked through this parental trouble, 9 of them 10, their kids are no longer involved in Muay Thai. And that's pretty recent times.
Yeah.
So that tells you something, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It's one of those things.
What I was going to say, Darren, did parents always have the influence now within gyms? Has there always been a parental problem in gyms, like is deemed to be now in some gyms?
Whoa, that is a bloody good question, Pete. It's not often you sit back, anyone sits back and makes me think for a second. I'm biased because I've had some horrendous situations in the last couple of years. I've never had stuff as bad as I've had in the last couple of years, but now I've probably dealt with a couple of the worst parents that have ever been involved in the sport. But I'd say no. I think maybe it's part and parcel of the times. You know, certainly, obviously, when we started years ago, there wasn't even such a thing as a kids class, really. The kids just trained with adults because there wasn't a different set of rules. Now, I don't do any mixed classes. I have juniors and I have adults, primarily because of the different set of rules. Excuse me. So I'd have to say, no, I don't think it was as bad.
Has social media changed this, Darren, for one of the downsides of the internet? And
the thing is, that's one of the things as well, right? So obviously I have this rule that when your kid comes and fights for me, I organise your fights, I talk promoters, you don't, okay? So 25 years ago, they weren't. Parents couldn't speak to promoters because I didn't give them telephone numbers. Now they can find them, can't they? Now they can text them and email them and drop them a line on Messenger or WhatsApp or whatever else, you know. So now they can do it. So now they do get involved.
Hey, Pete.
Hi, love. You okay? Hi.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Thanks, bro.
So,
I mean, from my point of view, Darren, what I get from a junior promoter, if you like, is I get more than anything. I offer X amount of matches up to the same gym, and I would say in 50% of cases, 50% of gyms I get back, I'll run it by the parents and come back to you.
I'll be honest with you, that's an excuse I give to give me some time to think about it. Yeah. As a quick story, I'll tell you a story about one of the kids in my gym. I normally will say to a parent, "Oh, Pete's got this person for this fight, blah, 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 blah." They know I'm just telling them really out of politeness. They don't have a say in it. Nowadays, definitely, they don't have a say on whether that match is or isn't going ahead. I've got one kid who's come to me. He's not fought yet. I'm hoping to put him on the junior opens, but he's done a lot of stuff. He's a good kid, and I feel that I'm going to have that conversation with this parent on more than one occasion. But I'll just get told straight. There's a few years ago, I said to one parent, and bless his soul, he's not with us now, to be honest. Very sad story. I said to him, I can't remember the kid's name, just because he had a nickname, but I'll just tell you, Harry, got Harry a fight on such and such a day. And he said to me, "Well, I don't think he's ready to fight yet." And my response was, "What does it matter what you think? I've just told you he's ready to fight. He's got a fight on this date." And I walked off away from him and I left the other parents to sort him out. Because I'm never putting anybody in a fight unless they're ready for it. And I don't care whether we win or lose fights, which is probably why we still win more than we lose, because there's no pressure on me. And I don't take fights that, I'm certain I'm going to win. I try my best to make people lose fights as soon as I possibly can. So I don't care. As long as they're not getting hurt, and it's dead easy to stop a kid from getting hurt because you just go, call it a day, mate. So my parents now don't really have any influence over me over who fights what, but obviously in the past they have done, and I probably learned from that I'm never going to get into that situation again where I'm having to referee my parents within the gym because others are contacting people, and getting fights and title fights with someone else on this show, and others aren't. And then I've got parents when "You said we couldn't do this, but he's done that." And that's before I even started teaching kids, even before I started the class. So there is a big, massive problem with it, parental influence. But I kind of suppose I'm lucky in that I'm not a glory hunter, and I don't need people to come in my gym. So now I've just got a simple rule: is if you overstep the line, you get told, and that's it, you're gone. I persevered with some people, and it nearly cost me my gym and my sanity and some friends and other kids who I would rather have been teaching, not because of the kids that are involved, but because the parents that are involved. I'll not make that mistake again, and I think other instructors should do the same thing. They should just be brave enough to say, sometimes what you want to do is you want to stick with the kid despite the parent, because you know that you're having an influence on the kid, a better influence on the kid. But sometimes when that's gone, you might as well just cut your losses. It's a problem. Parental influence within the sport is a problem. But being honest, again, it's not a problem that's particular to Thai boxing. You see it in football all the time. I've seen it in pro boxing with adults, dads going behind trainers' backs, talking to promoters. You can think of probably the most famous dad out there, but other ones, consistently being a pain in the backside, where you get the situation where the trainer and the promoter, when they talk, are having more of a conversation about a boxer's parent than they are a pro boxer. And this pro boxer won a British title, and his dad was still messing his career up for him. So it's not particular to ours.
You just mentioned there football, and it happens in all other sports. Yeah. I know it's a team sport and it's different, but a parent is not going to say in rugby, "I'm not putting my lad on the wing against that other winger. Have you seen the size of that winger?" They'll make mincemeat out of him. I know it's a different sport, but parents do not get involved in other sports to the degree that
Yeah,
happens in a lot of martial arts.
Yeah, it's more difficult than a team sport, isn't it?
And another little thing you picked up on, then you'd never put a fighter in that wasn't ready.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a great point and a perfect reasoning. You know, the other thing that we get a lot of, I'm not putting that fighter in because we might get beat.
I hope to God I've never said that.
You know,
I
you
really
did
do.
say
I honestly don't think I've ever said it. I've certainly never said it to you. And I might, obviously, 38 years is a long time. There might be a point where I said it or even thought it. But I honestly, to God, try to get my fighters to lose a fight, right? As soon as they possibly can. The amateur fighters, it's Muay Thai, it makes no difference at all. I want you to lose a fight because when you've lost a fight, if you lose fight 3 and lose, or fight 4 and go, oh, I don't want to do this anymore, I've lost, then I'd rather you did that than you get to fight 18 and 19 and you're fighting for European titles and you say, oh, I definitely can't lose this one, or I definitely can't lose this one because it's important. It's not that important anyway, to be honest, you know, but I'd rather them lose a fight and see what they do. And it's really, if you're winning all the time, what are you learning? You know, you've got to lose. And the thing about Muay Thai is it's like the same Muay Thai. If you're not undefeated, if you're undefeated, you're not testing yourself. Because this isn't boxing. There are so many ways to fight a Muay Thai fight. You can flip the results on the head time and time again. You get top ties who'll fight 7 times in 18 months and it'll be 4-3 because you flip it. You flip it. How many times can you say you've seen 5 pro boxers fight each other 5 times, let alone 3 times, and share the results? You know, I can think of one trilogy off the top of my head that went 2-1, even though the first 2 fights were the wrong way around. And that's it. Do you know? Again, it's because money's involved. You can't risk your golden cow. But,
no, and you know, people might think, oh, because Pete Spencer's talking to Darren, yeah, they mates. People don't realise how much we clash. You know, you don't even have to put us in a phone box and we'll have a Barney. But I can honestly say, hand on heart, is when Darren Phillips will say to me very, very often, that fight's not good enough for us.
Yeah.
Alluding to, I'd love this kid to get a beat. I'd love a loss on the record because they're not going to move on otherwise. And then I'm thinking, oh, thanks for that, Darren. Great. I'll try and get somebody else even better. You know, as though the job's not hard enough.
I like to make you work for your money, mate. It's true because it's about life, isn't it? It's about life lessons. And what do you learn in life if you're winning all the time? If everything's going hunky-dory, what are you learning? You're not learning nothing. This life's hard. You've got to learn as soon as possible that not everything's going to go your way, and it's how you come back from it. And then there's no greater way to blood yourself for that kind of experience than in a fight. Because there's a lot of adages that are true about fighting in a ring. It's the loneliest thing in the world, you know, the round's the longest minute in your life and the breaks are the shortest time in your life. But it reflects life massively, and you've got to learn. It's not always going to go your way. And can you spit your dummy out and go run into your mum? You know, when your boss at work says, no, you've got to work this shift, or you can't do that, you can't do this, and you can't do that. You know, like they say, uncoachable kids become unemployable adults. And if you've got someone behind you all the time, making sure you get an easy fight, making sure you get a fight you win, making sure every fight you have is for a title, and then you leave school and you go to work, is that parent going to rock up to work as well for you? Sort out all your battles there? Is he going to? How's he going to help you?
In some cases, I would say most
In some
definitely,
cases,
yeah. Well, you know, Darren, Manchester City get beat very, very rarely, but they get beat. But they bounce back. And
talking about that silly football game again.
That's the one. It does have a bit of an influence now and again. But again, the future. Now, you're starting again. As a promoter, I'm certainly starting again because obviously ages change anyway. The weights will be up the wall.
It's like now, you asking me for kids for September and for July. I don't know. I don't know where they are. I'm not going to wait until they come back in the gym. So I can't tell you. I haven't got the faintest idea. I've seen one of my kids, only because they're related to me, one of my kids since I shut the gym. I've not even seen a picture of that from them. There's probably a reason for that, God help me.
Somebody asked me the other day, well, why are you starting off with 2 opens? Because it's job done for me, mate. That is why. Job absolutely done. I start off with a clean sheet and we move on from there. You know, and the open, as we know, the opens are a great leveler.
Yeah.
You know, the novice opens are great. The main open, the big Sandy Open, we've done the figures on 30% of novices win at the big open because the kids raise the game on that day.
I like the idea of a novice open. You know me, that's one thing. I don't like opens when you can have a situation where someone's had 2 fights, somebody at 15. It's not golf or darts or snooker. You know, you're getting it. I don't particularly like it, but if the kids want to do it, then I might go with it. But the novice opens, you know, 0 to 5, obviously you're relying on people telling you the truth. But I'm up for that. That's interesting, and getting a couple of fights out there. But again, I've got a good kid who may be able to fight someone who's had 3 or 4 fights and he's not fought yet. Could he fight someone who's had 12 fights? No. Mind you.
It is very, very much matched still on paper once you get that info in. Even if it is 2 semis in a final, you know, you're matching the 2 higher end again and then the 2 lower end. And if they meet in the final, then they meet in the final. But, you know, a GFC fighter or some of the other really good gyms, there's not many novices anymore, Darren. I keep saying this, and even on the big, even, you know, on the Yokout kids or the Sandy shows we've done, there's not many fights you can watch. And I know the pure novices, because you guys have told me there's 0 fights, and they walk in there, Darren, like they've been at it years.
Yeah, it's the level of tuition now. There's so much more. You say you're not novices as well. What you've not got is as many weak gyms. Where you get a gym there and you think, no, I'm going to win that. You know, you don't have as many weak gyms now. The level of tuition is much higher than it used to be. I was going to say something, I thought it was. Sorry, my mind's gone completely. It's my age. But yeah, it's. Oh, that's another argument. Quickly bypassing, going back to kids doing head contact and full rules. And one argument is that we should let the instructor choose. If the instructor says he's good enough to do full tie rules at 17, then yeah, fine. That's fine. And let's use Richard Smith as an example, because Richard Smith had Liam, and then I'm not picking on anybody else. Richard Smith isn't just a good instructor. He's a conscientious bloke, okay, with a conscience and some morality about him. So if he said to me, I've got a 15-year-old who's good enough to fight full tie rules, I would believe him, because I know what he's talking about. I know he's not going to put somebody in there who's going to get hurt. You can't say that about everybody who teaches Thai boxing in this country. And 5 years ago, it would have been worse. Now it's a bit better. But now you can't say that. You can't leave it to the instructor's decision. That's why you've got to have a set of rules. You've got to have a set of rules, and it's these rules for everybody. And no, you can't fudge it for him, and you can't fudge it for them. And you know what? If he don't like it, and his dad don't like it, and he's going to go and do something else, see you later, mate. Bye. Nobody was going to make £1 million out of you. So it's sad to see you go. But like I say, I've had phenomenal juniors leave for less reasons. And it's just the way it is. You know, but you can't leave it to the instructor's decision, unfortunately. Well, no, not even unfortunately. You can't. You just shouldn't. You've got to have a set of rules.
I think that's a cracking way to end this little session, mate. I know you're a busy man. And we'll follow on from all this and go back to where we were last time at a future date. But well done on your 38 years. Still can't do the figures on that, but you can't be 40 yet, can you? So how's that work, 38 years?
Well, look, I'm going to say that this cup's got to be the most super undestructive cup in the world, because this is my 40th birthday cup, and I have been using it for 15 and a half years.